Good afternoon. Welcome to Tunta Lifestyle Show. We love to bring you the latest entertainment news, business, and of course, everything lifestyle. Today, I'm being joined by a very interesting panel. On my left, we have a partner friend, Millennium TV. Irene, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nebo, and I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. And on my far left, we have Mainga, our greatest designer. I love to say this because you own it. You have earned it.
Yeah.
Let me give it to you.
The greatest designer they have yet.
Oh, welcome to the show. I love that. I love the print as usual.
Of course.
The hair is everything. You have to do that right. And of course, I am being joined by a woman who is very powerful. I would like to say this. She is a mother, an entrepreneur, and she is one of the women you definitely want to hear their story. She's been through thick and thin, and of course she's made it in life. I would like to say she has made it in life. So I'm really excited because she's going to share with us her story, how she started, where she is, and of course the big dreams. And of course, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Very pretty.
Thank you.
I love the
Thanks
fact
to
that
yours truly.
Mainga, let's
Yes.
let all the credit go to you.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel great.
Okay, so Constance Moonzwe. Moonzwe. Oh my goodness, I almost got that wrong. Like any other woman out there, we all have a story to share. We all have a background, where we came from, what we're currently doing. But before we even get to what is current right now,
Right.
tell us about Constance Moonzwe. Who is Constance?
Perfect. Well, I am the daughter of Dr. Sam and Maud Moonzwe. I was born in Lusaka. We all left Lusaka when I was 13 years old. And I've been living in the United States for about 29 years now.
Wow. Wow. So I understand you are more focused on the medical part.
Mm-hmm.
How did that passion come up?
Well, my mom is a nurse. She used to work for World Health Organization when we were in Zambia. And so when we went to the United States, she continued nursing. So I've always had that sort of background in her. And so when it came to start my first company at 25, it seemed natural that I would focus on the healthcare space because my mom has always been my #1 fan. So I knew, without me being a healthcare professional myself, that I could glean from her experience and knowledge.
Oh wow. So you had a family which had your back from
Yes,
the beginning.
from day one. Yes.
Very fortunate.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I also know this because we had a small chat earlier on that you have 2 beautiful children.
I do. I do.
And you have a life which is very demanding. Being an entrepreneur, running a business, a company which is very time consuming. How do you manage to be a mom and also be an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur?
Yes, I mean, I think that it's challenging to manage both, especially as a single parent, right? So there's not a husband there who can kind of help with that load. And in the United States, we don't have nannies and babysitters and all that. And so I think a part of it is that my days start really early, about between 4 and 5 a.m. And I would typically work until about 6, 7, but my evenings are always for my kids.
Oh, nice.
So that means that during the week I'm not socializing a lot, I'm really focused on that. But as a business person, because my company is in 48 states now, you have to have a team. So I have employees all over the world who help me, support this vision. And so they sort of balance it out. So I have recruiters in different states in the United States as well as internationally. So it's a team effort for sure.
What birthed your company? What was it that led you? I mean, I became a fashion designer because I loved fabric. Like the sensation of having to touch fabric and have an experience with touching fabric give me the zeal of wanting to rip it and sew it. What was that thing that made you step into? I mean, I could have been anything. I could have been a footballer, I could have been a singer, whatever it is. But then there's always a point where something attracts you to it, or something calls you. It's a conviction, a calling. When did you, or what was it that made you decide first, I'm going to be my own boss?
Right.
Because I feel that's very important, because
Yes.
most women out there don't appreciate the value of being your own boss. What made you your own boss?
I mean, that's a great question. Oftentimes, yes, we work a lot of hours as entrepreneurs, but we have flexibility. For example, here I am in Zambia for 2 weeks, and I don't have to worry about using vacation time, asking somebody to give me time off. I move around the world as I feel free. Control of my time is really important. But when it comes to business, that was a really important question, because I fundamentally believe in transforming lives, and my vessel is employment. There's nothing that gives me regular joy than helping people find a job. And so with one of my companies going from 5 employees to close to 1,000 employees globally, that the thought that all of these people their livelihoods are dependent on us making this work, and that motivated me to get up every single day. But it wasn't from like a stress perspective, but it was from a joy perspective. Can you imagine a little girl from Zambia going to the United States and giving people, thousands and thousands of people jobs? I would have never imagined it. I would have never imagined
Even when
it.
you were asked, you could never have said, I want to be a boss, I want to be giving people jobs.
No, I would have never imagined it, and that's the greatest form of joy, because I know what rock bottom feels like. I know when you are struggling to pay your rent and your car insurance, and that sense of just complete despair. And when I get a call from employee to say, thank you for giving me a job, because this month
now I'm able to do this.
I can pay for my daughter's tuition. Or recently we moved a dentist from Connecticut to Missouri because his son had a deadly allergy to sage, a plant, and he needed to go to a state that didn't have sage.
Wow.
And transforming lives through employment, I can't think of anything else I would rather do.
You're in the business of transforming lives.
Yeah, all right, Constance, now I'd like to find out from your career journey. Just take us through your career journey up to where you are now, and some of the successful tips that you had to put in place in order for you to master the art of entrepreneurship. Yeah.
So like most of us Africans were taught, go to school, get your undergrad.
Yeah.
Get your master's, which I do have my undergrad and my master's, but I was always a horrible student.
Yes, true, master. I was a horrible student.
I mean, even starting from being in Osaka, I went to St. Mary's, and because I was a sickly kid, I couldn't pass the exam, so I ended up going to Leopard's Hill. Right, so I didn't go to not even it wasn't even from a financial perspective. I just wasn't smart enough to go anywhere else. And so I do believe that I define grit as passion and perseverance for long-term goals. So what I'm really, really good at is persevering. And so I believe that if I persevere, I can get to the end goal. And if you told me, a girl from Leopard's Hill who barely made it, in the United States, I couldn't even go to a 4-year university. I had to go to a junior college, which is a lower level, and then go to a 4-year, and then go to my master's, to go from there to say, my businesses have done millions of dollars in revenue.
Just there. You said perseverance.
Yeah.
And I mean that's one thing that we all, just not only women, but that's one thing that we all lack in general as a people, motivation that can get, you see, we live in a time where we think, just because I go on social media and I see someone's life changing drastically right there and then, they have a new phone, they have a new car, and my story or my life is not moving at that pace.
Right.
And I am demotivated, not feeling the vibe or the energy or the zeal to work up and push on. I love the fact that you have emphasized on perseverance.
Because talent you have naturally, right? But skill is only developed by putting in the work. hours and hours of beating on your craft. You're a much better designer now than you were 10 years, but you never quit. See, a lot of people quit on themselves, and they quit on their beliefs, and they allow other people to tell them who you are. And that's and I never let anybody tell me who I was. Unless if it was coming from God, it just didn't matter. Other people's opinion just didn't matter.
Right. Can we have you say that again?
Yeah. Don't care about what anybody says about you. Only focus about what you say to yourself. We really have to be, we're not good at controlling the noises in our heads, and that's what makes us depressed and have anxiety and go through all of that. It's because we are hearing what people are saying about us, and then we believe that to be our truth. And I've always been good at rejecting other people's opinion of me.
Oh, I like that, and you're very confident. Obviously, that's one thing to note about you. As an African based in America, what are some of the challenges you went through being a woman? We always face different challenges. I love the fact that you had a very supportive family from the word go, but as you started growing in your journey, in your career, doing what you love most, which is health, what were some of the challenges you encountered?
It's very challenging. The journey of success is very hard.
Yeah.
There's nothing about it that's easy. So I'd be lying to say it just happened like that. There were many failures from, when you're growing $1 million businesses, the first question is, how do you finance it? Where do you get the money to do that? That was a learning curve. And even to this day, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I never use titles like CEO, founder. Why is that? There's still part of me, even though I've achieved much, there's still a part of me that says, well, the corporate world accept the fact that I am a CEO.
Yes.
So you still always fight in these insecurities, but you grow through what you go through. So when I hear myself fighting something, I just literally ignore it and say, we're going to keep pressing on, even despite of my own fears and anxieties. So there are a lot of challenges in the U.S. from a financial perspective, from how do you grow your team if you've never grown a team?
Yeah.
Where do you get your employees from? And the solution for me is I've been always good at my version of networking. So I've invested heavily financially in mentors, coaches. At one point, I started a book club, and we were reading 2 books a month. It wasn't necessarily about the audience, it was about me. Me saying that I don't have an example. I didn't have an example. When I built that first multi-million-dollar business, I didn't have an example of who can I follow? So I went to books. I went to, books on entrepreneurship, business finance, and I read something and I implemented it. I mean, success in life is about taking action.
Yeah.
And if you don't know something, then learn it. And so that's kind of what's helped me overcome some of the challenges, but it's tough. Yeah.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah, I know you've spoken on so many forums before, and just the recent one, the Zambia Diaspora Conference that we had here. I know it's not the first, but I'd like to find out from you, how do you build confidence and resilience throughout the course of your career?
I think that you do it by small wins. A lot of people focus on that big win. They say, well, Constance was part of a $100 million business, but it's the small wins. It's that first 5,000, that 10,000, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And then even with public speaking, that was another challenge, right? Because when I was a kid, I used to stutter, so my voice has changed over the years. Yes, I did. And in fact, in '97, I was in a coma for about 3 months. And so I had to learn how to speak and talk, but then it's going up there, it's practicing and practicing and practicing. And that's how you build confidence. You can never go from 0 to being confident.
100.
You have to practice.
I must say, from what you're telling me, what I am hearing you say, and I hope this is what everyone else at home is hearing her say, which is that you need, before anything else, before you can talk money, before you can talk success, before you can talk accolades, before you can talk you know?
For media marketing solutions, Africo is quite simply a quality marketing service delivery company. Our solutions cut across digital and traditional platforms. In short, integrated marketing is our thing. We look after clients seeking competitive solutions in integrated mission-critical marketing, whether corporate branding, digital media, outdoor advertising, right up to media buying. Get in touch today.
You really, really need to work on you.
Yes. Yes.
Put things in perspective in your way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very, very important because we as people have tendency of, you see, we don't bank on ourselves.
Right.
You don't use yourself as leverage.
Right.
I mean, I have spoken with a lot of different people and I've interacted with different people from different walks of life. But then you are one of the few that have, from the onset, made mention that the catch is you.
Yeah.
You're the catch.
It's an inside job.
Yes. Before you can go out there and do whatever you want to do, you need to, number one, put your mind in order. Out. Number two, you need to formulate a plan that works for you.
Right.
Not that someone has to write a program down for you and you follow you. Even and even when you're doing something that hasn't yet been done before, you still, one way or another, need to find someone you can copy a template from somewhere because no one does things alone.
Right. I mean, if it's been done before, you can do it. And so I do believe in taking this blueprint, adding it with this blueprint, and creating my own blueprint for life. You know, learning from others, being a constant student. There have been days, even now to this day, I spend about 3 hours a day in learning. So that means I'm listening to educational content. I am reading something. I am note-taking on something. To this day, no less than 3 hours. I wake up listening to a podcast. I go to bed listening to an audiobook. And even now, I still believe my best is yet to come. So I'm preparing myself for the mentally, physically, emotional for the better Constance.
Yeah.
The better version of this already.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
I want to be in your shoes right now.
Yeah.
So you came from a place where you had support, I understand that. You also had a very unfortunate incident where you lost your spouse. And in most cases, as a woman, it's very hard to, dust up and rise up. But you managed, and it's a beautiful story to hear. And I want to know, how did you manage to come out from such a tragedy?
Where was this
having
lady?
Two kids, and being who you are. How did you manage to do that by yourself?
I mean, first of all, I would be lying to say if it wasn't the hardest thing that I've ever been through. Even being in a coma, as I did, even being in the hospital for 3 months, this incident, that seemed like small things. I definitely was suicidal at one point. I definitely didn't feel like there was a reason to carry on. But I think what really got me to say, fall down 7 times, get up 8, is really, I had already started to do the work of my mind, right? I had already started to do, so it was a point of where I would say, my prayer was, Lord, you said you would be the father to the fatherless and you would be the provider to the widow. And there was a point where it was so bad that I would just repeat that. And then what happened is that one of my family members said that, Constance, just go get a job. You are mourning, but what was crazy about this particular incident is that our daughter was 7 months. My husband's car went off the freeway and exploded, so I had no closure. We had no closure. I would wake up hallucinating, thinking that he would just walk through the door. And so it was a journey. Life is a journey, but I said, I cannot waste this pain. You have 2 choices, Constance. You're either going to pick up yourself and fight, or you're going to die. Where do you want to go? And for me, it was, I'm going to pick up and fight and live for his legacy, my husband's legacy, for our children. The thought of considering even leaving them as orphans was something that I was not willing to do.
They couldn't lose their dad and lose their mom also.
Mom and dad also, and there's no help, like in terms of somebody can come stay with you, take care of it. And so what I did is that I just really started to visualize my future. A future where I was not in so much heartbreak, where our families were stable, where the kids were doing good. I would spend a lot of time in that space until I actually convinced myself.
May I read something from what you just said? I think we all, as a human species, have one thing in common, which is our experience of pain. We have all experienced pain. There's that pain that you can't even crawl out. You can't
get out of bed.
It's hit you.
Yes.
And I feel that pain is the first building block to your success.
It's the most building block, because if you don't know how to funnel pain, like visceral, back-breaking pain, and use that for fuel, you're not going to make it.
At all.
You have to literally say that I cannot waste a minute of this pain.
No.
It's too hard for me to waste it. So instead of me lingering in misery, I am going to take this pain and I'm going to throw it at the thing that I want, which is a stable family. And so that's what I did. And so, started ITH in October of 2014. My husband passed away in February 2014. Within 3 years, grew that business to be worth over $6 million US.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Money. Yeah.
But again, money fueled by what?
Pain.
And that's one thing with us as humans is that when we, thank you, Constance.
Yeah.
When we go through pain, what do we tell God? Why me?
Right.
Yeah.
Why now? Why couldn't it be that one? That one doesn't. What we miss is the very point that pain is
Mm-hmm.
everything. That's a whole car with fuel to take you to your great
propel you to the next day.
to your destination,
Yeah.
which is greater than what you were. And how I wish that we would know, but now we know, of course.
Yeah.
That we need to learn as a people, especially women, because women go through
We go through a lot.
more compared to men.
Mhm.
Women go through the most, and then the problem is when problems start, they have a back to back. Believe me,
It's a rippling.
yeah, it'll hit you, hit you, and then the more you're getting hit, instead of standing up, we lie down there
Lie down with the pain.
and never
Right.
pick ourselves
Right.
up. And believe me, I lost my favorite sister, my best friend, and I believe the most that with pain comes an opportunity, a chance to mushroom something great.
And you have to think about it, the people who go before us, how do you think they're looking down on us and they're seeing us in visceral pain? How do you think they feel? See, somebody once told me that you're too focused on your own sadness. Do you think that he would want to see you like this? So isn't this your opportunity to make him proud?
Wow, that's a whole deep concept that really needs time to think about.
Yeah.
Constance? Girl.
Yeah. Now let's talk about your achievements.
Yes.
Yeah, you're rising from pain, picking yourself up, managing your business. You've achieved a number of achievements. You have been awarded several awards,
Yeah.
one of which is the Women of Color Achievement Award, and plus so many more. Just tell us about some of your achievements and also how you've just managed to keep yourself going throughout this whole process and with all these accolades coming to you. And I know, because looking at you right now, I can't tell that you have all these achievements and all the accolades attached to your name, but you've managed to stay humble and just share your story with the world.
I have received a lot of awards, which is humbling, especially in the United States. You know, Women of Color Awards, Entrepreneur of the Year Award, several. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm just that little girl. You know, I'm just still that little 13-year-old girl who barely graduated college, and you know, and I love my people. I never had, my desire to be successful has nothing to do with fame. You know, my desire to be successful is because too much is given, much is required and expected, and I fundamentally believe that if you give, it shall be given back to you. So my work is, the more I do, the more I receive, and then the other stuff just doesn't really matter. I'm more interested in who can Constance be? What is the best version of Constance? See, that's what I'm pursuing. I'm not pursuing, so all these awards, I get them, they stay in the displaying cabinet, and I keep moving on. I say, all right, well, what's next? What's next? They're just, you know, they're just things that the external world has said about me.
Validations from the external world.
Yes, and I appreciate every single award from every single organization I've ever received, because it's good to know that somebody acknowledges your work.
Seeing what you're doing.
It's very important, but at the end of the day, if my legacy, meaning my kids, if I can't create a pathway for them, I've failed. My number one job is to be a mother. And so that's humbling, because you know what, when I get home, my kids don't care how many awards, you know, or what I've done. They're like, can we go get some ice cream? You know, can we do this and do that?
You saying that reminds me, I was watching a video of Kelly Rowland, and she was saying the first time her son saw her performing with Beyonce and Michelle, the son was surprised because to him, Beyonce is Auntie Bibi, and Michelle's, you know, and you, Mommy Kelly, you're just mom. I don't know that you're a performer, and I feel that's again hats down. Women have had to wear different uniforms to really get it going. You know, you are, as much as you're going through pain, your full-time job is a man.
Yes.
As much as you're going through pain, your full-time job is to pay your bills, because even if you don't pay your bills, then you'll be sleeping in the streets. As much as you have all this going, you as a person also have needs. You have to improve yourself, you know. And when you see all these little attributes, those are the little seeds that make your mosaic and your story. And sometimes we were so hard on ourselves.
We really are. And so, for example, I'm really big about not putting anybody in a box. So when I received my first major award, one of my first major awards from Life and Time, I decided to shave my hair into mohawk and put initials in my hair.
Oh wow!
And my mom, it fit. She was so bad. I think she cussed me as a Tonga baby and everything.
I can imagine that.
But the reason I did that is that don't put me in a box.
Yeah.
You know, a black woman entrepreneur does not look in a certain thing, so don't expect me to come in looking at what the world thinks success is. And for me, that was important for young women who are going up, who are willing to work hard, to put in the work, to say that you can be successful regardless of how you look like or where you're from. And so, you know, part of the, one, my motivation is definitely my kids. But second is I want others to follow in my footsteps. Because quite honestly, if I can do it, you can do it. So for that little girl, you know, in Lusaka who said that one day I can build a multi-million-dollar brand. I want them to be able to look at me and say, you know what? She did it.
And even if I have a mohawk or
I can do it.
hair,
I'm blonde hair, I'm bold, you know, whether I'm small, I'm big, whether I talk with
hair.
Natural hair. Whether, you know, I don't, you know, I speak with the lips, so I'm deaf, or whatever the circumstance is that I think part of our obligation is to walk in front so the others could follow.
What it is you crowed. You crow. When you're given a platform, you're given a chance at life, God, your job is to crow so others can just run through and just feel it. And it's such experiences that really, believe me, I have learned a lot from you, both on camera and off camera. Really, really learned a lot from you. But then,
for media marketing solutions, Africo is quite simply a quality marketing service delivery company. Our solutions cut across digital and traditional platforms. In short, integrated marketing is our thing. We look after clients seeking competitive solutions in integrated mission-critical marketing, whether corporate branding, digital media, outdoor advertising, right up to media buying. Get in touch today.
To someone at home watching, to the average Zambian woman who is selling charcoals, making fritters, and she looks at you and she says, hey, I have the zeal, I have a belief in myself, I know I can become something, I know I can do something. What would you tell them?
I think that you embrace the pain. I remember one time where, this is several years ago, I didn't know if I was going to make payroll for my employees. And I stood up, I was awake all night and said, how am I going to pay these individuals tomorrow? You know, obviously we made it through that, but I think that the most important thing is, even to this day, I write notes of what I want, what I'm thinking, and put it in my pillow. I do this Steve Harvey's thing, where it's write 300 things that you want in your life. These are things that you don't even think are possible. These are your stretch goals.
But because you write them down, it helps you remember.
It makes, and you know what?
Not you, because when you write something down, it's like you
really, it's really, I think it's a prayer. Right? You know, and so, see, in order for you to achieve it, you have to see it. And so for me, every December, I do this every December. My birthday is December 20th, so this is my birthday gift. I start a new 300. And then throughout the years and the years, I just check. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Check. I mean, when I went to Italy, it was on my list from 4 years ago. Took my daughters to Italy last year. Never thought, if you had asked me 10 years ago, would you take your daughters to Venice? I'm like,
I'm not sure. I don't know. All kinds of excuses.
I was like, that's a tough one. You know, or Berlin, or Mexico, or Portugal. All these places started with a vision of the future instead of a memory of the past. The problem with us in general as people, especially us black people, have you heard that, like, oh, I remember when I did that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I remember when I stayed here. Yes.
You know, like,
but if you spend your time thinking about what you did back then, that's what you're manifesting. You're not manifesting what you
can do now.
So if you stay like, oh, you know, 10 years ago I really had a good job, but I don't have a good job now. That thought is now saying I'm not worth it, unless if I go back. But then if you go back, you're stunting yourself. So for me, I never think back. I always think
moving forward. Okay. So talking about moving forward, what's the big dream? I know you have a lot going on, but what's the big dream?
I like that.
I mean, one of my big personal goals is, when I started, you know, being an entrepreneur, I never had a number, but now I have a number. I'm 42 years old now.
You look 26.
Yes, thank you very much. And when I turn 50, I want to have a $50 million company. So I want my business my personal business to be worth over $50 million. And I say that because sometimes you don't want to share our goals because you think you're boasting.
You want to make them, and then people will be like, you're a liar,
and then you're ashamed to say, if I don't achieve it, people are going to laugh at me, right? But see, this is the thing. If I set a goal for 50, but I get to 25, am I still not?
Still a millionaire.
So when you have to set stretch goals, because even if you don't hit it, you get
something.
You're going to be better. You're going to be at least that halfway or a quarter or whatever. And then when I get to 50, maybe I'll do 100. Maybe I'll do 2. I mean, I come from faith, and for me, I just don't believe I have a limit within my skill set. So of course I'm not going to go build a plane. I have no idea how to do that. But I have mastered healthcare, and I can get better. So within my zone of genius, if there's a company that has been built to do $1 billion, which it has happened in the US in the staffing space, then I can get close. At least I can work towards that, and so I'm motivated by figuring out what can I really do, what did God create me to do, and I don't want to leave this earth without achieving my max potential.
I swear you remind me
of the big dream is $50 million plus dream.
By the time I turn 50.
Oh yes, so graceful.
Okay, yeah.
Now I know.
Okay.
No, I'll let you tell me.
Okay. Yeah. So, and when we started, you mentioned you were looking up to your mom as your role model. Did you have any other women influencers that you were looking up to throughout as you're trying to start up your career? To people that you've gone to maybe ask for advice on how can I go about this. There might be a young person out there who's watching right now and they have the ideas, they're trying to put them on paper, they don't know how to go about it. And others, maybe it's because they can't really express themselves and networking is not, they don't know how to go about it. So did you have any people that you're looking up to, and how can somebody go about it when it comes to networking?
So I've always studied people from a distance, so books have been a big thing for me. As I started to make more money, I started to hire coaches. So I've hired coaches from finance to business coaches, but that's how I started. But if I was to start from scratch, is number one, like remember my first break came from a client, right? Is that you never know who is going to be that person who opens up the door for you. And so the thing is, I think the foundation is be a person of integrity and character. And work hard because you never know who's looking. I was just working as an HR generalist when the lady says that, you've been so good to us, let me help you start your first business. But if I wasn't diligent in my network, and if I didn't treat even the vendors, sometimes you mistreat the person who's sweeping the floor. You don't know who that person knows, or which other floors they sweep. So you don't know.
She reminds me of my.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
You don't know the relationship the
You
person
have no
that sweeps
idea.
the floor has with the boss themselves. Because they're the boss best friend.
Right. So the person who sweeps the floors, well, if their business is to sweep the floors of high-end clients, whose houses? And this is why I'm saying we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss the people who are doing the most mediocre jobs, because guess what? The most mediocre jobs are the jobs that nobody wants to do, but they're the ones that are needed. And so for me, it's always been that. It's always been looking at the least of that. A lot of connections have come through people you wouldn't expect. The person who's cooking the food, because they're cooking food for somebody else. And they're like, you have to meet this young lady, she's really pushing, she's really working hard. And that's kind of how it works. So fundamentally, be good, just be a good human being, and treat everybody the way you'd want to be treated. Open up your doors, be hospitable. Number two, seek out men